For many months, the advice Australia's leadership has received around COVID has been disturbing. And what's even worse is the overwhelming level of incompetence advising Australia's politicians. The past week has validated why Australia is in the mess it's in and why we've become a divided nation. And if it wasn't evident earlier, then it has become abundantly clear now. All the premiers and the Prime Minister have failed and seriously misled Australians. Their reliance on substandard advisors, bureaucratic, medical and epidemiological, have turned Australia into a shambolic mess. After 120 years of federation, Australia's returned to pre-federation and is now a global circus. Real actual experts, eminent in their field, have either been ignored or derided whenever they've contradicted the advice that the government has received. There is such a disparate chasm in the narrative offered, they can neither be believed, trusted or logical sense made of strategies put forward because faith in the leadership has simply collapsed. Australians are not only consumed with anger and frustration, but we're starting to lose all hope. We've finally come to understand in infinite detail the extent of incompetence running the states and country. Now, since COVID, Australians have begun to live in fear driven through misinformation, poor advice. And the media has actually helped manifest one of the most effective and sophisticated scare campaigns the nation has experienced. Australia's poor leadership and the cabal of incompetent advisors ran with a narrative that was infactual, ineffective, poor and strategically destructive. And fear has gripped the psyche of Australians and has begun to destroy the country. Here at The Informer, we believe it's through incompetence, not design. To suggest otherwise is paying too much credence to individuals who simply don't deserve that much credit. And here's how that fear is manifested. Last year, Australians were told case numbers would determine how COVID is tackled. And for 18 months, case number dependency drove state and federal government thinking. The real experts, not the political lackeys, immediately declared it a flawed strategy. Some of Australia's most eminent leaders in virology and medicine said hospitalisation figures should actually determine how Australia managed COVID. Well, guess what? Earlier this week, the penny finally dropped for the PM, declaring Australia had to move away from case number dependency and focus on hospitalisation figures. But the damage has already been done because vested interests have played a key part in the strategy of case number dependency. Pathology groups, where the financial returns run into the billions. PCR testing is a goldmine for pathology groups. And if PCR tests are spun inaccurately or incorrectly, the detection rates for viruses dramatically increase, which begs the question, if for the past 18 months case number dependency has been a strategy, could there be a real COVID case number that will be lower in Australia? If Australia's pathology groups ran the PCR test at a wrong speed, what would the real COVID cash count be? Now, we need to ask, why is there no transparency with the data around PCR testing? And have lockdowns been predicated on a false premise and are the figures not truly reflective? Have Australian lives been held to ransom because of what overinflated COVID cases could mean financially to certain pathology groups? Has Australia's borders closures, destruction of people's lives, business and industry, and even the economy been destroyed because of dodgy COVID case numbers? There are many questions that need answering because the level of misfeasance and the potential profit to certain groups cannot be ignored. There's a saying in journalism that always holds true: always follow the money.